Welcome to ACE Bicycles Monmouth. We thought we'd talk you through our custom Forbidden Druid and the spec changes on build-up that we've done to it over the last 3 to 4 weeks. Obviously starting off with the Forbidden Druid frame, which we've used as a base level. This is the one in blue steel in a size large. What's obviously really interesting about the Forbidden frame set is the high pivot point and the chain idler. So what this allows it to be able to do is be able to have lots more sensitivity in the initial part of the travel on the bike, while offsetting some of the downsides of having a high pivot point on what is essentially a single pivot bike. The chain idler helps stop some of the chain growth affecting the suspension movement, and the suspension kind of axle path on here is actually moving backwards through the travel, which means it really absorbs those square edge bumps a lot better than perhaps a traditional single pivot, where the wheel actually moves slightly forward as well as up. We've put in a custom Ext Fork coil shock on there, give it kind of a little bit more kind of enduro kind of capability. Obviously EXT's got a fantastic reputation. These shocks are simply sublime. Matching that obviously onto the forks, we've got some custom decals on there with the Welsh flag, representing the fact that we're here in Wales. Those were done by Essential Wraps, who's also done the full frame protection, so it's a clear, obviously matte finish on the bike. Well worth kind of protecting your investment on a bike of this kind of value. Ext Fork on the front as well, which has obviously just been released. This is actually set up to 160. Now the standard fork travel on the Druid is actually 150, but the actual 10mm means I can run the fork slightly softer into its initial travel, so you get that great sensitivity off the top, but also it kind of holds up the bike with a little bit of compression tuning in on the steeper descents. So that's been a kind of like fantastic kind of handling, I suppose, extra on the bike, and gives me that little bit more kind of travel to be able to get away with stuff. Got a Burtec cockpit up there, so we've got the carbon enduro handlebar cut down to 770mm, and we can get through the tight trees. Run with a 42.5mm stem to keep a little bit of weight over the front of the bike. We've then got the Hope brakes with 200 rotors, front and rear. Obviously carries a fair bit of speed on these 2.9er wheels, so it's great to have that little bit of stopping power. And obviously the Hope brakes, being British, you can get all the spare components. If anything goes wrong, they're fantastic little bits of kit. We're running a mix on the drive chain, so you've got the EXO kind of carbon cranks, chain ring, also a EXO cassette on the back here, but actually run with a Shimano mech and shifter. It works really well. You wouldn't expect it to, but Shimano, in my opinion, obviously gives the best in terms of gear performance. SRAM designed some really nice and lightweight componentry, so the two things marry really well. Onto the wheel set, we've got Crank Brothers Synthesis carbon wheels. You've got that little bit of flex built into the front, which allows you to be able to feel less trail buzz through the handlebars on those on long descents, with some additional stiffness built into the rear wheel, so it really kind of tracks nicely around the corner. We've wrapped those in our favourite kind of Maxxis 3C rubber, so I love running the new Assegai tyre on the front, and on the rear we've got the trusty DHR2. On both of those we've got cush core in there as well in the XC setting. Again, that's not just to be able to give that kind of, I suppose, puncture protection, but it also gives some sidewall stability as well when you're kind of ragging it around the corners. Few finishing points. Obviously we've got the Burtec grips. We've got my favourite Physique Gobi saddle, which I know is no longer made, but for me just really works with my backside. Super comfortable when you're putting long hours in the saddle. And then down to the pedals, we've got the Crank Brother Mallet DHs, which is great for when we've got those kind of pedally days. And then we run the kind of Burtec flat Mark V penthouse pedals when we're going out and shredding some loam. So that's kind of the rundown through this. Obviously love doing custom builds here at ACE Bicycles Monmouth, so if you've got your dream spec you want to build up, then give us a shout.